Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the weekly joint venture between Ryan and I from Umpire State of Minds and Tito from 90% Mets. Now, today is going to be covering two major topics: the follow-up, review of the series that just concluded, and our heartbreaking first series loss, and the other mainly was a little bit of a something we touched on before, and now it's kind of turned into a full-fledged debate that we have to put an end to. And the reason I'm wearing black today, the black Mets, is just because I feel like, gentlemen, whatever side we go with, we're going to get crucified one way or the other. so, so let's start off with this series, Ryan. Your thoughts on this series and our heartbreaking first series loss.
I'll lead off by saying that it was interesting that the Mariners chose to send down Jared Kelenic right before the series started, like the day. Or actually, might have been the day the series started. So that was my number one thing. Um, I've heard people throw our batting under the bus, but I would say that today it wasn't our batting that failed us. It was definitely our pitching. We had Chasen Shreve, by the way, which every time I hear his name, I just think of Arnold Schwarzenegger saying, Chasen! But like saying the name Jason, that's all I can think of.
Is that
Um,
a dilemma too?
yeah, it's like my name is Chan, so my name is Jason. So who killed the Empress at Crystal Lake? Jason Shreve. Anyway, so our pitching really let us down today. Cookie let us down. The bullpen let us down. Everyone kind of just crapped the bed today. So our batting, they dropped a heck of a lot of runs at the end of a game. But I'm sorry, we can't constantly rely on a big ninth inning comeback. The other two games, once again, batting. First game, batting let us down. They didn't score any runs in support. Second game, batting came to play. And then third game, batting went silent again. And it's going to be a point that we're going to talk about in the future where who in this lineup is consistent and who is not. And if we don't start getting a lot louder that we need to re sign Brandon Nimmo, I am going to get mad. He is our most consistent on base person. He always is ready at the top of the lineup to come through for us. So,
Maybe you should start a petition for that one.
I mean,
Uncle Steve,
it needs to
resign him
happen.
now.
There are two people based on the early season that I see need extensions now, and it's Nimmo and Diaz. Don't let them get near free agency.
Not if they continue the pace they're on now. No. Was Nemo 24 games on base in a row or 25, something absurd like that?
And his hit streak is pretty good too.
Mr. Tito.
Hey, everybody watching, just leave comments. Let us know what you guys think. We got a couple already on here. I'll read them a little after, but yeah,
I'm already
man. Going on to what Ryan just said. Yeah, it's our hitting. We lost 2-1. On Friday. We really didn't do much. Then we won 5-4 yesterday. The bullpen looked a little better, but then the bullpen looked off today. Giving up some runs, and then we also put up, like Ryan said at the end of the game, some runs to make it close. We put up three, oh no, two, excuse me, which we winded up losing 8-7. We can't rely on the big comeback all the time. Even though there's like just like you were saying, even though this team never says die, you can't come up with 3 outs and expect to score 5 runs and win a game. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen often either. The other thing is our bullpen, man. Our bullpen is struggling. You guys are seeing to where Smith actually came in and allowed his first run of the year, I believe, on Friday, and that's how we wound up losing 2-1. And Seawald, he looks like a completely different pitcher, actually shut us down this series, 7 up, 7 down, and he made a gesture to the crowd, which he said didn't really like him when he was here. Well, no shit, we didn't like you because you sucked. So
Yeah,
I
he
Yeah,
mean,
said in the media that we gave up on him too early.
it's not like when we didn't bring back like Murphy. Like we loved Murphy when he was here because he was a good hitter. He just sucked as a pitcher.
yeah. Yeah, he was horrible when he was here, but um, it's funny. I saw it in another chat. The logo or the thing for the Mariners should be "See Us Suck" with the C spelled CEA. So I thought that was pretty funny. But no, man. I mean, we can't rely too much on either way. We're gonna have these stretches where we're not scoring runs and the bullpen has to shut it down, or we're gonna have to score some runs because the bullpen sucks. And so we're going to see one or the other. You can't win every series, can't win every game. So, for us to lose a series to the Mariners, it sucks, but we were bound to lose it sooner or later. It doesn't matter who it was. And now we get to see the Cardinals come in after that series in St. Louis. This is going to be fun. I've been waiting for this one. I want to see what happens there. If we get into a fight, if we throw at somebody, you guys think that's going to happen?
Possibility. Some old time baseball. Remember the
this isn't the early '90s Mets where I got to worry about someone with a chlorine or some firecrackers throwing them at people. But these guys like to spice it up every once in a while. So yeah, who knows? Super soaker full of bleach.
Gentlemen, ready for a little free floating hostility?
Let's do it.
Well, the end of the game today kind of ticked me off a little bit, and both you gentlemen are right. But here's the thing that, when we promote our podcast and we do different things, we do social media, we try to reach out to as many people as we can. And unfortunately, that involves a lot of different groups and involves the Twitter world and involves a lot of people that should keep their damn mouths shut because they have no idea what the hell they're talking about. I got in an argument with a guy on Twitter about Lindor. Look, I'm not going to go through all the stats, but Lindor's average and RBIs are well above what the pace they were last year after 35 games, 36 games. He's not hitting great, but he's 30 points above what he was last year in his average. And if he sticks to that pace, he's going to finish the season in the 260s. He's a 277 career hitter. I don't know what everybody wants from him because we gave him all the money. It's because he's what we call, ladies and gentlemen, he is a five-tool player. He may not hit for a lot of average, but he has the ability to. But he does so many things for this team. And it pisses me off when people just pay attention to damn offensive stats and don't look at what he brings on the field, what he does in the clubhouse, what he does for the community. Lindor is going to be a great piece for this team for a long time to come. And then we had somebody today post at the end of the game, Alonso's a friggin' bum, face of the franchise, my ass, because he struck out the final at bat. You know what nobody really mentions, and this is what fucking pisses me off more than anything? Nobody mentioned how Marte struck out on 3 pitches before Alonso, and all Marte had to do was get the ball up in the air in the outfield, and the game would have been tied.
In defense, I actually have read a lot of Marte hate on Twitter. And
I'm not saying it's not there, but everybody
what I will say is I don't think either of them deserve hate.
No.
Because it is not easy getting if it were as easy as, hey, I could go up there and hit a fly ball. Do you know how many teams would be amazing? I mean, the Mariners literally are not a great team. We lost to, unfortunately, not a great team. They've been in situations where they didn't get a run across the plate. Every team in baseball history has lost a game because they had a runner on base and they couldn't drive him in. This happens. You don't automatically go, hey, that guy who's fantastic, I hate him. Now, I deserve a little bit of... I always try and call myself when I'm being a hypocrite because to this day, I hate Carlos Beltran. But the difference is I don't think you go out looking 3-2 in Game 7 at home, bottom of the ninth, full count, 2 out. That is the difference. Pete didn't go down looking. He checked his swing. It's not as if he looked at strike 3, I'd have been a lot more pissed at him. But he swung at ball 4, so I'm not happy. But
did you hear Pete's interview at the end?
I did not.
So Pete says in the interview at the end, he gave credit to the pitcher, said his slider was working. He struck him out. He's like, kudos to the pitcher. I wasn't sitting on any pitch. I tried to go up there. He was throwing, his slider was working. And I tried to hold up and I couldn't. Pete took blame for that. Didn't make one excuse. Gave the pitcher credit for striking him out. and
And
that's the one thing I enjoyed.
and that's
But
what good players do, by the way.
yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I need, and this isn't for every Met fan, so please, I hope everybody that's going to listen to this or watching us right now doesn't take this the wrong way. But for the select few, it's May. The season goes until October. The teams are going to go through slumps. The players are going to go through slumps. The pitchers are going to go through slumps. We're going to lose series. The fact that this was our first losing series is friggin' amazing
And that we're
compared
the
to the.
last team to do that.
Yes, exactly. Did we lose to mediocrity? Yeah, that's the part that sucks. Ryan's right about that one, but it happens. So it's not time to jump off the bandwagon just yet. It's not time to start waving the white flag and saying we need to make changes right away. Escobar, who Ryan said to me earlier today, needs to have more. We need to have more productivity out of third base over catcher, and he's absolutely right. Escobar, hoping that triple he went in with today kind of gets him going a little bit.
See,
That
but I will give Escobar another month before I say, "Hey, how are Vientos and Beatty doing?"
yeah,
That's the difference. I'm not terribly worried. We have a few catchers who are doing defensively great, and that saves you runs. And unfortunately, when McCann went out, he was the best defensive runs saved catcher, I believe, or he was top
yeah.
three. So, and he wasn't hitting well, but if you're saving us runs on the base path, I'm sorry, that I'd rather have a 215, 220 catcher who is top of the league in defensive runs saved than a Gary Sanchez.
I mean, for that, we might as well call up Alvarez for what he's doing right now in Double A.
Well,
You know,
but
and
Alvarez is now hitting like Mendoza line in Double A.
Yeah.
well, that's what I'm saying. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's I mean, it makes no difference. And even though
Well,
he's not
Tito.
ready, and back to your Lindor comment, man. I told you guys
Yeah.
this on a past podcast is that Lindor was brought here for more than just his stats. He was
Mhm.
brought here to be that first star that we got to bring everybody over, and you saw that with bringing Scherzer over, and then everybody else that came over, Sterling Marte. He was a star as well that we tried to get, a couple years back, and it didn't happen. And finally, we were able to have him. But he came over because of what we're trying to build here. And the first piece to that puzzle was Lindor.
If we
Now,
didn't
at one
sign
point,
Lindor to that contract, it would have been the same Mets as always, and no one would have followed him.
Yep.
yep. Now I got both of you guys gonna have an interesting, quick. Sorry, I disappeared, guys. An interesting, quick comment from both of you on one thing. But before I get to that one topic to finish the series, Ryan, you were mentioning guys we have to resign, and I think right now you really have to put Bassett in that conversation too, the way he's going.
Oh yeah,
But here it is: the last two nights, last two games, the hero you can say of almost both games. Which Nimmo was more the one today, but Patrick frickin' Mazeika
Hmm.
ambushing a 100-mile-an-hour fastball over the fence. The Canna celebration was absolutely amazing in the dugout. I'm trying to save that as a gift right now to put in places. And just that big 2-out hit today to get it through the infield and then hustling his ass from first to third. Seeing that big boy run. What do you guys think of his chances of filling that void that McCann is right now that we don't have to go out and do something drastic in a trade or something?
Well, he didn't start off too well with his start with Bassett yesterday. I'll tell you that right now.
So
And
before you finish, did you hear Buck's interview with that?
I did not.
So Buck was saying in the interview, he says that's just Bassett. He's done that to all the pitchers so far. They focused a little bit more on it with Mazika, but Bassett knows what he wants to do.
catchers so far.
I mean catchers. I'm sorry, thank you. Right. Bassett knows what he wants to do, and he always cycles the pitches. McCann and Nito know him a little bit better. It wasn't that he was getting confused in the pitches. He was trying to get Mazika to get to the one he wanted, and that's what Buck was saying.
Mm.
Bassett is
Okay.
one of those
Well.
pitchers.
Huh?
Bassett's one of those pitchers who he is a longtime vet. He knows what he wants to throw in certain situations, and that's what you give those pitchers as opposed to catching a Tyler McGill or a David Peterson, where as the catcher you control that for the pitcher. The older pitchers like a Scherzer, a Bassett, a Carrasco, even if they think that a pitch is due in a certain situation, they will call it, and they're allotted that because you've pitched for 20 years now. Situations is better than a catcher who's been up for 3 years. Anyway, sorry.
Sorry,
No,
Tito. I didn't mean to cut you off there,
no,
buddy.
no problem. And that's a good point, and it goes to and it shows to why everybody that's in the rotation goes to him to talk to him when they're not on the mat at all after start. So that makes a lot of sense. That he's a perfectionist when he wants to throw a pitch. But yeah, he started off rough, but you know what? He made up for it with that home run, man. That was huge. For the crowd to go crazy and for him to get that was fantastic. I was so happy for him, man.
For
I was yelling
Seattle
in
to
my
put
living
3 runs in
room.
the top of the seventh and tie the game, and then Mazika to come up and do that.
Can we just say
Wow.
Mazika Magic?
Yeah, I
I
like
mean,
that.
I was
he's
trying to think of a nickname for him.
he's not ever gonna be more than an off the bench catcher. He's a
Yeah.
Kevin Plawecki. He is a guy we need like that. By the way, people were talking about trading back for Plawecki now on Twitter. They're like, who we should trade for? Kevin Plawecki. He knows the team. I was like, really? We want
For
to bring
what?
back? Yeah, like you want to trade for another hitter, a catcher who can't hit? I mean, I'll keep Mazika and Nito if it comes down to that because they're just as good at hitting and they're just as good at catching. I liked Plawecki, don't get me wrong, but when he left, I wasn't like, this is the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Well, why don't
love
we
me
see if
some
the Braves just
Mazika.
want to trade a Darno back?
Todd Hundley's still out there.
Just saying.
He might be drunk right now, but he's out there.
A couple of other pointers to get to, man, as far as the series goes. And John touched on it in the comments. He said, sick triple by JD today. Yeah, man. Hopefully it gets him going. Him and also Escobar with two with each with a triple today. That hopefully gets them going.
Yeah, if
And
those two get going, our lineup gets so much better.
yeah, well, we're still waiting on a third guy, which we're gonna start talking about. And he's just
Ryan and I had a conversation today after the game, and we were talking about Escobar needing to produce more. And the two positions that we can get away with defensive catchers, but you need third base, you need the DH to start producing. It lengthens the lineup. And then I don't want to say catcher will be one easy out, but because McCann was starting to heat up a little bit. But now all of a sudden when you have DH and you have third base and you're looking at maybe three easier outs in the rest of the lineup, it shortens the lineup, and Mets have succeeded because McNeil down in the seventh has started a second pretty much lead off.
Yeah, Buck has that figured out so well. I got to give him credit for figuring out turning over the lineup in such a great way that the good teams do. And he came from a place where whenever somebody turned over the lineup, they got traded, and now he doesn't have that.
and if you guys notice, every comeback that we had or near comeback that we've had, it started at the bottom of the lineup, and they were able to turn over the lineup in such a nice way that Buck sets that up, and you're 100% right.
And it nearly
100%.
happened again.
Yep.
The guy I was arguing with on Twitter about Lindor said McNeil should be hitting 2 or 3, Alonso should be hitting 2 or 3, and Lindor down at 7. And I told him to go back and just play MLB The Show a little bit more because he has no idea what the hell he's talking
I mean,
about.
that's like Brody Van Wagenen as a GM. It's I'm gonna get these names and they sound fantastic because I'm playing fantasy baseball.
Man, that doesn't make no sense doing that. Them was always on base and he could create havoc. I mean, he's not a base stealing threat because he doesn't
Yep.
really like to, but he can get first to third on a single. He could score on a double easily from first. That just makes no sense to do that.
Sorry,
McNeil,
Nimmo is so the weird leadoff hitter that like people traditionally it was someone who got on base, however possible, and then stole second base. And for years the Mets looked for that player. Like we tried everybody to do that.
once, once
But now we
Reyes
have this
bolted,
guy who's, a leadoff walk or hit. He gets on base usually. And then he doesn't steal second. They tried doing that with him last year, actually. Like he had a lot of caught stealings last year, if I remember that correctly. and it just didn't work. And so they didn't think he was a leadoff hitter. And now they're like, oh, yeah, hey, you don't have to steal second because we know that Lindor behind you or whoever is going to put the ball in play. You're not going to get doubled up most times because you start running the second the ball is hit. And you're not going to get thrown out at first. By the way, I really thought when the Mariner player the rookie got thrown out at first because he was all the way at third base almost by the time we threw it back in. That double play, did y'all see that one?
Yeah.
No, I actually missed that play.
So one of the Mariners rookies, it was a base stealing idea. He just takes off to second, and it's a pop fly to Nimmo. I believe, was it Nimmo or Marte? It was Marte, I believe. Pop fly to Marte, catches the ball. Runner's rounding second, heading to third, and he just easily, like, pretty much short arms the ball out at first, and it was like, the hell just happened? Oh, he didn't even pay attention to the ball.
See, those are the ones.
But that is where Nimmo doesn't mess up, and that is what makes him an effective base runner.
He's the best base runner we have on a team. Period.
That's what you meant.
Except 2 years ago, it would have been Marte. Marte's just lost a step, and so he can't steal bases as well. Yeah. 2 years ago, it would have been Starling Marte.
I agree. Yeah. I agree.
Well, Ryan, that's where you missed, like, back in the 80s or 90s when the outfielder would just run and step on first and get the unassisted double play. But, Ryan, you're 100% correct because having Marte in the number 2 spot, whether he's struggling or not, he puts the bat on the ball, but his ability to also lay down the bunt, and it doesn't have to be a sacrifice, and he can really turn that into a hit. You don't need Nimmo to steal right now at all. But, ladies and gentlemen, as Tito said earlier, we're waiting for one guy to get going. And that brings us
I might need to freshen my drink for this discussion.
You can freshen it. I'm just kind of going into this little... So, big shout out to Joe, Puck, Chad, and the DC Mets because we had another great, event last Wednesday at Nats Park. Of course, we wish the outcome could have been a little better. But shit happens, But we meet this really nice gentleman named Victor with the group, and he starts talking about Dom Smith, how he's a little superior to Pete in a lot of ways. And a lot of us were talking back to him kind of almost pro Pete, and he thought we were kind of ganging up on him. And it just really irked me because I still see it on Twitter a lot about Dom this, Dom that, Pete versus Dom, Pete over Dom, Dom over Pete. So I asked these guys if we can kind of go in depth into this a little bit more on both players in a very logical way of doing it with numbers and even without numbers, what we see on the field. And we want everybody to make their own decision on this one. But it's an argument that Ryan said at the ballpark Wednesday night, an argument that should not even be an argument, should not even be around. Why are we arguing about this crap? So, gentlemen, who wants to put their thoughts in first on this Dom Pete issue?
Go ahead, Ryan, because I know this is going to be long-winded.
No. I'm not going to be that long-winded. I think Pat's going to take us over the 1 hour mark by himself.
I probably could right now, but that's all right. I'm going to keep mine short.
All right, so I've decided I'm going to give pros and cons to Dom because, as I keep telling people, I like Dom Smith. I just don't think he's our first baseman because, well, let me tell you why I think he is good. He's younger than Pete Alonso.
1 year, that's it.
He tries really hard. I mean, dude has had, he realized he was having, he came in overweight. So he lost weight. He was like, you know what I need to do? I'm not breathing right when I sleep. I'm going to go to CPAP machine. He has made adjustments to his life to be a better baseball player. So I give him a lot of credit for that. When he gets hot, he is a solid hitter. He can go a little bit power, but he goes doubles, singles. He's a Gwynn-like hitter when he is hot. He has seeing eye singles. He'll rattle it around the corner for a double. He is a really good player when he's hot. And he has a good glove, but he doesn't have a golden glove. He has a really good glove. Those are Dom Smith's pros to me. Here are my cons for Dom Smith. Yes, he's young, but he's getting older without showing drastic improvement. There are guys who come in the league young, and within 2 years, they've established themselves as stars. Pete Alonso is one of them. Pete Alonso is recognizable by most fans in baseball because he realized I'm the home run derby champion. I'm making this my thing. I'm going to get in a groove having loud music playing. Everybody knows Pete Alonso. Um, Looking around the league, playing for a crappy team, Mike Trout is known. Because the second he came up, he was great and he showed improvement. David Wright on our own team, David Wright, Jose Reyes, these guys came up young and they showed improvement. Jose Reyes is very comparable to Dom Smith for me because they both came up young and they were both very injured. The difference is Jose Reyes overcame the injuries to become a batting champion. Although I fault him for bunting and then taking himself out of the lineup, he was still a batting champion, stole a ton of bases, and earned his massive contract. That was how you come into a league on a number one pick and prove yourself. Number two, he has no sustained excellence. So I just said when he's hot, he's hot. He doesn't get hot often. So he'll get hot, he'll go for 20 games, and then he goes in a slump for 20 games. This is not a thing where he can bat. He's not a 300 of over the year hitter, and he's also not a 30 home run hitter. You really literally have to be one or the other at first base these days. Are you going to hit 30 home runs? You're going to hit 300. And here's what I'm going to compare him to. John Olerud was a 300 hitter, not for power, but he had a fantastic glove. And Dom's glove is nowhere near John Olerud. John Olerud anchored the greatest defense the Mets ever had. Dude hit consistently 280 to 300, I believe. Let me look it up now. I'm looking up. I just had Dom, but
Now,
Rebels machine.
while you're looking up John Olerud, Brian,
Olerud
Dom,
as a Met.
yeah,
Let me just see this. I got it right here. 294, 354, 298. That was his, and he had much better defensive years than Dom Smith. So just comparing that. I got two last ones and I'm out. He's injury prone. And I hate throwing that tag on someone so young, but either he's injury prone or he's making up excuses for the fact that he can't be consistent. He's like, yeah, you know what? It's my wrist today. I can't play. You know, I'm slumping because insert injury. And I'm not saying those injuries aren't there, but it's convenient that whenever he's in a slump, he's injured. And finally, his biggest con, he's at the same position as a guy who is a franchise face, as a guy who's there every game. You look at the celebrations whenever the Mets win, who's at the heart of it? It's Pete Alonso ripping the jersey. It's Pete Alonso telling guys, and it's Pete Alonso who he steps up and he goes, you know why I didn't get that hit today? You know why I struck out? I made a mistake. And that is a big difference for me. It's that taking the blame and not saying I'm injured. And if Dom was at the same position, if he was playing third base, I'd put Dom in. But he's not. And I can't even put Dom at DH because he's batting 177 right now. That the Mendoza line is a thing, and he's so far below it. He's looking up at it. So yeah, that's my tirade. I'll hand it over. By the way, once again, to just end it all, I like the guy. I want him to be an amazing man. I want him to be there for the next 10 years and help us win championships. So that's my rant.
See, here's where I think we as Mets fans falter. We fall in love with the player sometimes for not what they do on the field, for what they do off the field. And Dom Smith was the biggest cheerleader when he was injured, and everybody loved him for it because he was there for everybody, for the entire team and his teammates. And meanwhile, he didn't do squat that year. The only thing he did was hit a walk-off home run the last game of the year. Excuse
If
me.
you remember, his shirt was him on the injury scooter.
Yes. So I think that's where Met fans falter. You know, we fall in love with guys like that, and it makes it seem because they're one of us. It's relatable. You know what I mean? And that's where we falter. Now, I'll take it a step further than that, man. Not a lot of people know, not a lot of people realize. Dom Smith was a first round pick, 11th overall, 3 Lonzo. like so he had a head start, and he knew coming in that he could have been this guy for the Mets because we haven't had a first baseman like we haven't had a third baseman in a while. You know what I mean? And he could have been the guy, but he just hasn't panned out. He like you said, when he gets streaky and streaky good, he can be good, but when he gets streaky bad, he can be bad. And who does that remind you of that's on the team right now as well? JD Davis. The same exact at the plate.
Dang it, that's
JD
right.
Davis. Just the same thing. The only thing is that he has a better glove in the corner for a first baseman, and he's a left-handed first baseman.
How
That's the
amazing!
only.
How amazing would it be if they could alternate streakiness so that like we DH one and then take him out, and they
Yeah,
just perfectly sync their streaks?
yeah, exactly. And it seems like right now we're not doing it to where DH is an automatic out if Alonso is not batting DH. But then we have an automatic out at first base because we have Smith in first base. So right now it's not working out with Smith. But let's talk about Pete a little bit. Kudos to Pete. Pete, since he's come up, he's done nothing but be the face of the franchise when we needed it. Even before Lindor was there, we needed somebody like Pete. We needed somebody to come and grab the franchise and say, "Hey, I love it here. I want to be here." Doing commercials, saying, "I love New York. New York is like my second home." And I mean, all Pete has done is his career is he's a 258 batter, but he's batting 273 now, and he has 114 home runs. Man, he's been slugging ever since he got up with 386 hits. Smith, he's only at 291, man, and he's batting like Ryan said, he was batting 177. So like we were talking to Victor when we were at the game. Yes, Smith is a better defensive first baseman than Alonso, but it's not by much. And Alonso really cares and wants to get better defensively, and you see him that he actually practices and he wants to get better. He wants to be elite, not only with his bat but with his glove. Now, where there's a huge difference is Alonso's bat compared to Dom's bat. I'd rather have a little bit of struggle at first base with Alonso than having Smith at first base and not being able to buy a hit. I don't see the argument for Dom. I just don't see it. I understand we loved him because of where he was in his injury and he was a cheerleader for the team. But as far as keeping him and playing him over Alonso, I don't see it. I don't understand the people that put up an argument for it.
Well, much like Ryan. Excuse
Pause
me.
for a sec. Here comes
Yeah.
the long one.
Listen.
Do you need a glass of water before you start?
Yeah, I'm dying. Somebody gave me COVID. I think it's okay.
Is it me?
No, I'm kidding, ladies and gentlemen. No, see, Dom Smith. I've said before, I do not dislike him. Like Ryan, I like Dom Smith. I want him to succeed. As Tito pointed out, I hate the love affair with him because it's not justified in him playing. Now, Dom Smith, ladies and gentlemen, he came up at 22 years old in 2017. I really blame Sandy Alderson and almost Terry Collins for ruining him and bringing him up way too soon. 22 years old for a player. Some players make it, some don't. And the reason I'm saying that, Ryan, is why it's too soon is it shows it in his stats. And I'm just going over his batting average because that's what everybody brings up. Lucas Duda traded in July of 2017 and makes way for Dom Smith. In 49 games, he bats 198. In 56 games and 18, he bats 224. Now, this is the interesting one. In 2019, the year Pete comes up, Dom hits 282. And then the very next year, the pandemic shortened season hits 316. Now, both of those seasons, he only had 177 at bats. In last year was his first 446 at bat season, full season, 244, and he's batting 177 this year. Now, Victor gave Ryan and I a little argument to his 2021 numbers. He was playing the wrong position. And Ryan just pointed right at Jeff McNeil in left field and goes, so is he.
Hell,
But
JD
Dom,
Davis doesn't have a position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for Dom, just because he didn't succeed, he might have came up a little too soon. He was young. He came up. But ladies and gentlemen, if he was as good as everybody says he was, Pete was not supposed to start on the team in 2019. They wanted to keep him down till at least May, June to keep another year of control over him. Pete,
Neutral.
Pete and Dom had similar numbers in the 2019 spring training, but Pete batting 352, 11, I think 11 RBI, something like that in the spring, forced their hand. And if Dom was as good as everybody's saying he is, he would have won a position out of any spring training. He would have outplayed whoever's in left field or first base. That's pretty much the issue. It's not that he doesn't have talent. Ryan alluded to it earlier. His injuries, he hasn't had it easy. He's had injuries. He's had these problems. He's worked through it. And I hope he really succeeds. In finishing off with Dom Smith, there was a quote I read from Billy Witz from the New York Times. He wrote, Smith is a polite and acutely aware, but if he becomes a great player or a great success, it appears unlikely to be through sheer force of will. For Smith, the path is not paved with obstacles to overcome, but with puzzles to be solved. It is not a coincidence that his favorite subject is math, which he enjoys because problems can be solved in different ways, just as different swings can hit a baseball square. His demeanor on the field can be best described as disappointing. That's what some scouts like me about. That's what some scouts hate about me, Smith said. They see me and I play the field like I'm not giving 100%, like I'm too cool. But it's how I play. I try. Not to put up the antics or the emotions. I don't play the game with emotions. If you play it with emotions, you make emotional mistakes. Now, Dom, unfortunately, you
Okay,
say
real quick,
that. but
thank you,
people-
Walt Whitman. Thank you,
What?
Walt Whitman, for that reading. That sounded like a long form poem, more than as an
Oh, like
excuse. More than sorry, James Joyce. Any philosophers out there? It just sounded like a long form excuse. Sorry.
no,
And
but
then we,
in the way I'm
A
looking
bit
at
poetic,
this,
though. A bit poetic.
yeah, the way I'm looking at this though is his demeanor creates perception, and then that's an intangible that Pete has. Face of the franchise, whatever you want to say. Everybody that makes Major League Baseball or pro sports has to have a passion and love for it. But a guy like Lindor, a guy like Pete, they have the ability to manifest it and show it. And that's what draws fans and teammates to them. Ryan mentioned the ripping off the jersey fact. Dom did show it when he was injured on the scooter. Yes, he was a cheerleader, but Pete shows it every single day. And that's why he probably will be our next captain.
If you can't be an
Right.
athlete, be an athletic supporter.
You giant jockey. But that's pretty much all I wanted to say. It's not an argument we have to go really deep in. Dom, if you succeed, if you hit, we love you. We still love you that you're not. But we want you to succeed. But ladies and gentlemen, I don't get it. Tito said he
You
doesn't
know,
get it.
there are these generational Mets who people fall. Tito was right. Every generation has a Met that people fall in love with who aren't that good, and you can't explain it. Like, I loved Ray Ordonez, but Ray Ordonez was a crap batter. Ray Ordonez was never going to be the face of the franchise. Ray Ordonez, we all wanted him to be great, and he was really good defensively for a short period of time, and we all caught on to that. One of my favorite Mets of all time, and this is going to sound depressing, is Ty Wigington.
The forehead?
Loved Ty
Wigington.
Wigington. Hated that David Wright replaced him. Because
Wow.
I loved him so much.
Andy.
Andy Chavez was a crap player but had 2 good years. This is what we do because we don't have that sustained glory. We find these guys who we're like, that is my guy, and you hold on to them. And you 10 years later go, I was so wrong about him. Dang it.
and you know,
Why did I
and
buy his jersey?
Another guy you can throw in there recently is Wilmer Flores, just because his coming around third base and
I'll be
going like
there
that to his
for
jersey. You
you
know,
in that moment.
But
it,
I will say though, Wilmer has had a sustained career better than any of those guys you were mentioning.
Yeah,
yeah,
Wilmer's still playing, and you know what? We all loved him because he cried.
yeah,
Yeah,
It was
because
the crying
he
game.
wanted to be here. It was
But
that I want
in
to be
all
a Met.
actuality, he did hit so many walk-offs that season.
Yeah, he did.
Like, it's
Yeah,
not like a lot of the players we've named already where it's like, why did you love them? Wilmer was literally walking us off in victory several times.
yes.
What
Oh,
the funny thing is, in sports, a guy that comes up, kills it for a few years, and then can turn shit just that quickly, and vice versa. And I will go on record saying we can have the same argument if Dom and Pete trade sides. I want the player that's going to help the Mets win the most. Plain and simple.
And that's the most important thing with that. I believe that the three of us have that mentality. We want to win a World Series. Who is going to do that for us? You know what? If I've been talking up Diaz for years because I think he's going to be the closer that wins it for us because I see that in him. There are Max Scherzer. I hated for years, but it's the all right, Major League Two. Anybody
Jack
Major League
Parkman?
Two?
Oh, Jack
Parkman.
Parkman.
He's
He
doing that
basically went
shuffle.
into
It
the
makes all the girls here puke. It's that moment of they're our player. And you know when they're good and you know when they're bad, and that is where we are. Who is going to win us this series? Because I will fall in love with them in a heartbeat if we can win a World Series. If Dom Smith hits a walk-off in Game 7, I will fucking love him. And I will say, pay that man a starter's contract because he walked it off in Game 7. That is the key to it all. If Daniel Murphy had continued hitting home runs through 2015, we would have signed him for a $200 million. But Cinderella turned back into a pumpkin and he blew it on defense too. And that is
I
why
would
Daniel
have
Murphy wound up with the Nationals.
I would have donated to that contract.
We all would
No,
have.
no questions asked.
Michael Conforto never panned out. And
Yeah.
that is why we didn't pay him money. It
Now,
comes down to what did you finally put on the field is how we really fall in love with you. Dom hasn't put crap on the field yet. Dom Smith has not had that moment except hitting a worthless home run at the end of a season. Dom Smith has not had that defining Mets moment. And it sucks to say that because I wish he did. I want Dom Smith to walk us off every night if need be. But he hasn't. He's not that guy. As far as I can see, he could be. And the other reason I want him to get better is so, worst case scenario, he's a great trade bait. Maybe we get a great starter, closer, middle relief for him. Maybe we get a fantastic player that I'm not even thinking of. Maybe there's a catcher out there that we get. I don't know. He has so much value to us beyond just, but he's got to put it together. I don't know what it takes, all right? It's stupid.
but how exciting was it when Dom in the series in St. Louis, he goes 4 for 4, he has all those RBIs. The ninth inning comeback, he hits that squibbler to the pitcher, and you see him diving into first. Now, I know Ryan doesn't like diving into first thing, but what I'm getting at is the hustle, the excitement behind that. If he did that all the time, if he was going 2 for 3, 3 for 4,
Ladies and gentlemen, just remember that in the Olympics, when you're running a 100-meter dash, the guy who wins doesn't dive into the finish line because it doesn't make you faster. Roberto
Hey,
Alomar is the devil.
he didn't slide in to make it faster. He was avoiding the pitcher from tagging him.
No, the pitcher never went for the tag. I tried that defense and I watched it multiple times. The pitcher held his arm against his chest. That pitcher was an idiot.
That's what they were saying he did to avoid it if he tried.
Yeah, and
Anyway,
I watched it
I
from
wanna know,
3
but-
different angles, and he did not.
Well, all I know is that he was safe. That's all that matters. We got that win.
And I'm happy that he was safe, but I hate this diving into the base thing.
I
Now,
agree with you. I agree. Now,
You know, we're going to have a podcast where my wife just comes on and talks about her 2 biggest pet peeves. diving into first base, and the shitty new catching.
Yeah, I think Lee and I can go on for a while about the shitty new catching.
Yeah,
um,
but she has more accolades than you.
oh, she has a lot more than me. I'm not going to say she doesn't. She does. Now with Pete, there is one regret I have, and there's an amazing stat I came across today when I was looking it up that I had no idea about.
Mm,
Pete has never got caught stealing yet.
really?
Has Pete tried to steal a base?
Yeah, he's got 5 career stolen bases.
I mean, that's up there with Wade Boggs.
Yeah. But the regret I have with Pete is 2019 on his 53rd home run. It's not really for Major League Baseball shit in the bed on this one that the game was televised nationally, and we had to hear some fucking chode in his monotoned call where we didn't get to hear Gary Cohen make that call.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a thing to announce because it just happened in New York sports. The Rangers have defeated the Penguins.
I was watching the entire game while we've been talking, and that's why I put my hands up and said, "Well, there it is." Yes,
Holy
You still
crap!
have
I'm never
30
gonna
more
get
years
into
to
it.
wait till you win a Stanley Cup.
I hate you.
How many
I
years?
can't even say nothing.
I've been to 3 celebrations and they were fantastic.
Cool. I hope we win it this year, and that way I can say you don't have to wait any longer.
So you'll be able to say, I've been to 2?
Yes,
Okay.
two.
Let's go Devils.
Yeah, we'll get to hockey later, but
Hey, it's New York sports, so I had to say it.
no,
So
that was kind of a good like. Now back to the sports desk for an
But they won
update.
it in overtime.
yes, they did. So a couple of comments here. Eric got in and he said, "I've never seen Ryan with his hat forward." So that's you guys. You guys checking in? This is a once in a lifetime moment right here. Take a picture.
Hey, I usually flip it at some point during the podcast, but that is a good catch.
And then
It's like someone-
Michael, he says, Pete, my favorite. Hopefully he gets us to a World Series. He can't be swinging at pitches out of the zone like that, like he did today. You got to come through. But he's still my guy. Hey, man, but like Pete said today, kudos to the pitcher. The pitcher gets paid too. The pitcher that floating with the slider. Huh?
Who was that just made that comment?
Michael made it a little earlier. Michael Ciraldi. He said he was talking about Pete. But yeah, I mean, he's swinging at. I mean, he go out of the strike zone a lot, and especially against with sliders and stuff. So hopefully he's able to control that a lot. But I mean, like I just said, pitchers get paid too. You know.
And I will
So
always tell you once again, and I had this discussion with Joe, and we got to have Joe on someday. Joe from DC Mets.
yeah,
Slider is the default second pitch nowadays because you throw it the same way a fastball, and it's hard for a batter to read. It's not like a changeup or a curveball which come out different. Slider everything in your mechanics is the exact same. That's why it's a harder pitch to pick up. And that is why Keith, if you've ever heard Keith talk about slider, he's glad that he got out of baseball before the slider really became popular.
Now, Michael, I'm with you on that one. Pete needs to come through, but he's still my guy. But it's going to happen. He's not going to.
Jordan didn't hit every shot at the end of a game.
But everybody, you look at it, you want a guy to bat 300. Cool. That means he's failing 700% of the time, so to speak.
Why do I always have to come back to Bull Durham on this?
Shut up. You want your ground ball with eyes.
That's the difference between the show and not on the show.
You think of just the amount of failure rate, even for when you say a good season or good career at 300, the failure rate is 7 out of 10 times. It's going to happen. We want him to come through because if he's going to be our cleanup hitter and our guy, we need it. But I'm not going to fault him for today. He manned up and he said, I'll do better next time.
I mean, in what other job or what other position are you going to say, hey, you come through 3 out of 10 times? Let's give you a raise.
No, for all of us, it's like someone would come up to us and go, "Get the fuck out of here! You're fired."
Exactly.
Fail 7 out of 10 times.
Oh man. So is this Dom and Alonzo and Pete conversation over with? Hopefully, we don't have it with anybody. Oh,
I
and
mean,
also, what I was going to touch as far as Victor goes at the game is he was coming up with an argument. Well, when he came up with the argument for Dom, he also said, "I don't care about any player on the team. I just want to win games." So then, winning games is not going to be with having Dom at first base
not,
alone.
and this is what I was trying to tell Victor. We're giving him every opportunity now. He gets to bat DH. He gets to play left field. He gets to play first base. Wherever he wants, he gets to play. He's batting 177. Jared Kelenic wasn't that far off 177, and he's in AAA now. And he is younger than Dom and considered a higher prospect than Dom.
Yep.
But there was a point where they went, sorry, just you're not doing it. And I'm not saying we demote Dom. I'm just saying that he doesn't get a starting role. I would, you know how bad it is when you're looking up and there's Guillorme batting better than you. There's, jeez.
Buzz Lightyear to the rescue.
Also, Guillorme can drop a bunt and score a run. One of the funniest moments of the season was Dom was in the batting circle about to go up and hit, and they were like, "Oh no, we need to bunt this. Put in Guillorme. Dom, learn to bunt and you'll have a spot. Just learn to drop a bunt. How do you not know this? You're not a power hitter. If you're not a power hitter, you should be able to drop a bunt 9 out of 10 times. Jeff McNeil drops a nice bunt.
Travis Jankowski drops that bunt. He's standing up.
Travis Jankowski is, according to, there was an article today in The Score or one of them, your favorite Mets' favorite Met is Travis Jankowski. And
Yeah,
I was
all
like,
the players, they wore T-shirts of Travis Jankowski.
Hold the phone. We just got a comment here. John Pele, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. He goes, Klenic got demoted because the fan base insisted they rushed him in. Give Dom some at-bats and let's have the same conversation in 2 weeks. All right, John, we want you on the show. We want you to talk about Dom a little bit if you want to. We'll bring you on the show. You really want to die on this hill as far as you want to see Dom over Alonso at first base? What are we talking about here?
you know what the great thing is? There's an amazing page called Baseball Reference.
Amazing.
Dom has 62 at-bats this year. Let's name a random player who you think might only have 62 at-bats around the league.
Just pull up anybody.
Let's look at the Yankees roster. You know, I'll just pull up the Yankees roster. Active roster, New York Yankees. What did I say?
Okay, and then he goes on put an LOL, not over Pete at first. At DH left.
Okay. That's
Okay. So
that's pretty big.
By him making the comment, we'll say again, we want Dom to succeed wherever he is. We want him to hit. He's getting every at-bat. Now, as Ryan's looking this up for the Yankees, to the gentleman that just made the comment, this other gentleman we were talking to also brought up Robinson Cano to me that really drove me nuts. And I said to him,
I got to do it. So at-bats, 62 for Dom Smith, 56 for Kyle Higashioka, the Yankees catcher who is only in there for his glove. Literally, he's there because he's a good catcher. 210.
Woo!
And he is considered a crappy hitter.
Yeah.
All right, John. There you go.
Now, John, this comment this guy was making to me about Robinson Cano, I said, if we would have just cut Cano after spring training, Dom could have had all those at-bats, and JD could have had those at-bats, and we gave Cano every chance to succeed. And Ryan did make a point. It's because of the roster. But at the same time, it could have went to a younger player too. But I said, I have no love for anybody that gets suspended twice from PEDs. After the first time, I might give you the benefit of the doubt. twice, you're done. He should have been off the team. And he goes, "What was 42 million?" I said, "What was the difference between cutting 42 million at the beginning of May and cutting it at the end of spring training? Makes no sense. We could have given that roster spot to a younger guy. Could have carried 3 catchers and had Mazika getting some at bats the whole time. Could have did a lot of different things." So anyway, that was just off on a little tangent, but want Dom to succeed, really do.
All right. He also goes on to say the player for the Yankees led spring in OPS, and all of them will be in OPS.
Yeah,
All
but
right.
Are we talking about Higgy?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's hitting like
OPS and
crap.
everything.
The
Spring
only reason a
OPS
210 batter is hitting as Higashioka is because he's the best glove.
Ryan, hold on a second. In spring, Dom had a very good spring, and everybody thought he was going to come out of the gates and hit well for the Mets. Spring is spring. You face some major league pitchers, You're facing a lot of minor league pitchers who are trying to make a name for himself.
Yes.
Those numbers in spring training are always inflated. So you can't really go off he led everybody in OPS in spring training because I'm trying to think of, I'll just say JT Realmuto because I really hate him in the Phillies, but he might have not played a lot. So he led overall catchers because one of the best hitting catchers in the game wasn't playing in spring, or it could be a lot of different things.
Okay. So here's where I get in and I come and tell you. Such a small sample for Dom and inconsistent play, hard luck hitting. Look at Escobar in 0 for 20. But Escobar showed us that he's not this type of hitter. Dom hasn't showed us that he's any different.
Also, can I say this? There's no one to challenge Escobar right now.
Yes.
Escobar is hitting at a position where we don't have someone batting 270 and leading us in home runs and I believe RBIs. Do you know how if we brought up Brett Beatty tomorrow and he started hitting 300, we'd be like, that was a bad sign on Escobar. We should really bench him now. There is no comparison because there's no one else leading that position. If you want to compare, you go to outfield, where we have multiple guys competing for the same position. And you could say, well, who's hitting like crap in the outfield?
Yep. And then he goes on saying, "My evaluation of Dom is purely based on his swing. The guy can hit." Well, you're going off of his swing.
You're not wrong, John. But if you watch Dom swings all year, he's very unbalanced. His shoulders flying all out of place. He's not recognized the pitch coming out of the pitcher's hand. His swing looks really ugly right now, and we know he can have a really nice swing. He just looks very uncomfortable at the plate.
And
Yeah.
I can say this, your swing is only as good as you're hitting the ball. You can have the greatest swing in the history of mankind, but if you ain't hitting the ball, it ain't worth crap. You can have the best mechanics as a pitcher, but if you're not hitting your spots, who the hell cares? If you're not hitting the ball, this is what I'll say about looking at third base with Escobar. Escobar's making a lot of contact right now. He's just hitting it right at everyone.
But here's the thing about Escobar, too. Even though he's batting 202, it is simply his on-base percentage is still 307 because of how much he's walking. Dom's is only 257. That stupid Moneyball movie, which drives me insane, but, Brad Pitt's character, Billy Bean, in the movie says an interesting thing that I don't care how you get on base if it's a hit or a walk. And right now, that's what Escobar is doing. He's still getting on base.
Real quick, does anybody else have a migraine from that movie? That totally, for me, it's a different reason. They literally don't even mention the fact that they're the 3 best pitchers in baseball.
I don't have a migraine. I drilled my eyes out.
I hate that movie with such
I'm really
a passion.
blind, ladies and gentlemen, because I made myself blind after seeing that movie.
I just hated that movie. I would have liked to. I'll say this. I actually wanted us to get Billy Bean as a GM on multiple times. Because I thought that if you give him, especially recently, I thought if you give him a budget like Steve Cohen would give him, that it would turn out well. But I'm glad we didn't because we have a great GM right now who's done great things. And I'm glad we have, I don't know if he would have brought in Buck, who's done great things with our lineup and great things with our team.
and just the same as being Epler actually had a budget now to do some things, whereas in LA he didn't have that.
Hey, Ron,
So
I'll make you feel better with a better baseball movie that I watched the other day, Eight Men Out.
Fantastic movie that isn't known by enough people.
Yeah. You see that one, Tito?
including myself, I have not seen that. No,
Best story of the Chicago Black Sox you can ever see.
Yeah.
gotta watch
And
it.
it's got such a weird cast of characters, as the actors are just fantastic and they seem so out of place.
Dean, John Cusack, D.B.
Like,
Sweeney.
I never would have seen John Cusack in a baseball movie.
No,
It's a fantastic baseball movie, and it doesn't have Kevin Costner.
hey, all right, gotta watch it.
So, John, I know you're watching and you're making these comments. So, in 2 weeks, hit one of us up. Come on, let's talk about it. It's all fun and witty banter up here.
Yeah, let's talk about it, John.
I mean, it literally comes down to none of us hate Dom. We just don't think he's the first base answer. Dom could easily be the DH answer if he just bats over 200. And that should not be such a terrible thing that we have to argue about. If he can hit 200, that would be acceptable right now because so many of our batters are not. If he could bat 220, I'd be like everyday player at DH. And that's kind of sad because we keep winning games. But seriously, I'd accept it. 220. If Dom hits 220, I will become an advocate for him at DH, and that is sad.
So John goes out to put LOL. I'll be here if I feel Dom was given a legitimate chance in 2 weeks. All right, let's give it a little bit more of a stretch. Let's give it about 3 weeks. How about that? 3 weeks, or we revisit this in a month.
I want to
you
know what
wanna
a
do.
legitimate chance is, because
Yeah.
I don't want him starting at first base consistently. I want him at DH. I want him maybe as a left fielder.
And Ryan, that's something you talked about before, but we didn't touch on today, is what makes Dom important right now is his versatility with DH in multiple positions. Something Davis can't do. So when it comes down to the trade deadline, you go, who's the odd man out? If Dom can start hitting a little bit, job's
That
hit.
is not true. J.D. Davis has proved that he stinks at third base and he stinks in the outfield, and he's very versatilely bad in the field.
Yes, yes. So
I'm
he
trying
goes.
to-
He goes on to say. John goes on to say versus righties at DH. So that's a legitimate chance for him.
I hate when we get into the fact that a player is good against a certain type of pitcher. It's why. So let's look at it this way. Jared Kelenic in Seattle, they were like, well, we stopped playing him against lefties because his batting average was low. You remember when we did that with Michael Conforto and he never panned out as an entire ball player because he sucked against lefties? But no matter what, we left Brandon Nimmo into struggle. And be like,
Yes.
oh, how's Nimmo doing? He's having a bad season. Oh, because he's bad against lefties. And then he figured that crap out. That's what you are supposed to do with a baseball player. You leave them in situations where they're uncomfortable and they figure it out or they suck. If you are a batter that can only face lefties, I don't want you. I want you off the team unless we have the roster spot for someone who can only bat against a lefty. If we have that, if we are so amazing that we can afford a guy who hits against lefties, I will be so happy because we are the richest team in baseball.
Ryan, for one thing, we are the richest team in baseball, and we can afford
I
that.
don't mean financially, I mean positionally. If we have
True.
24 guys on roster who are so fantastic that we just can afford a guy who only hits against lefties, we are so fantastic.
John,
All right,
basically, and what Ryan is saying here, the way McNeil and Nimmo can hit the ball the other way, if Dom learns to do that against lefties,
Jeff McNeil was batting the other day, and they were playing him on the right side of the field, and for 12 pitches, he hit it at third base, and they didn't even make an adjustment. They were not catching pop-ups to third that were slightly foul because they were playing him on a shift so far. And then, spectacularly, he hits it to left field, and they didn't play him for it because he can hit either way against anyone. That is what hitters do. That is what Keith. You look at the '86 Mets. Do you think they cared if they faced a lefty or righty? They hit the ball. Why is this so hard to understand? If the left side of the field is open, hit it the left side of the field. If the right side of the field is open, hit it the right side of the field. And you see guys do it, and we're like, well, why doesn't everyone just do that?
Well,
Because
that's 'cause
Dom
it's a bunch
can't.
of
Dom
bullshit.
literally cannot look at an open side of the field and go, I'm just going to hit it there. Patrick Mazeika hits it up the middle of the field. And he sucks at hitting.
This is where this
Hit it
becomes
where it
a
ain't.
bunch of bullshit with analytics. It's let's put a righty against a lefty because the lefty's going to throw into the righty's bat.
That's
It's a
why
bunch of
Homer
shit.
Simpson batted instead of Darryl Strawberry.
Hey, you Strawberry, hit a home run. Okay, Skip.
No, you sit down. Because Skip, I have 7 home runs. Now take
All right,
the showers.
John went on to say, all right, John, you're coming on the show with this comment. JD is better than Escobar.
Wait.
Hitting or fielding?
Wait. Hitting or fielding is the question because fielding, no.
I want to
Escobar
know.
is actually a fantastic defender.
I want to know either way. I don't care.
I just want to know if he means offense or defense because defensively, JD is like a black hole for runs. And it's like when we tried McNeil at third and we were like,
And he was skipping it to the first baseman. He was bouncing it on purpose.
Yeah, your arm. It was who's the pitcher? Dang it! Who couldn't throw a pickoff move? Who had to bounce it to first? It wasn't Aaron Nola. It was a Philly. It was a Phillies and Cubs pitcher.
Oh,
Zach Wheeler?
man, I make fun of him of this all the time. He pitched for Boston too.
Yeah,
What's his name?
John Lester?
How come I'm forgetting this? I'm going black. John Lester.
John Lester. Yeah, John Lester
Right.
could not pick off anyone at first, so he would bounce the ball to the first baseman on a pickoff move. That is the
Yeah.
equivalent of J.D. Davis at third base.
That's like
So-
the old Chucky Norris
Yeah, it
for
is.
the second grab.
So he went on to do his own lineup against right-handed pitchers with the DH. Center fielder for Nemo at first, second Marte, third Lindor, fourth Pete, fifth Dom, sixth JD at third. So he took Escobar out, seventh McNeil, eighth Canna, and ninth Nito or McCann.
Dom fifth, batting 177. I don't care what his career against a pitcher is. Like he could be like 8 for 10 against this pitcher, and I would not bat him fifth.
Not right now. No.
Because right now he would add another 5 strikeouts to his.
So this is what baffled me. Dom fifth. Dom is only a 248 career hitter. Everybody acts like he's a 300 hitter. Career 248.
Yeah.
This
He's a worse
isn't like
career-
he's Wade Boggs.
He's a worse
Wade
career
Boggs,
than-
Carpet World. Wade Boggs, Carpet World.
Now, John, the Mets had teams the last few years that were horribly defensively challenged. Look at what the Nationals have been doing and why we should have never won those 2 games in that series, but the Nationals made stupid moves. The way the Phillies defense is, that's what JD's like if you put him at third base. Defense is just as important, if not more, than offense.
Yeah, how many games have we lost as a team due to crappy fielding? Like, that's why we lost the series against the Royals. How do we not remember this? Lucas Duda was a shitty first baseman. He couldn't
Yeah.
make a throw home, so they knew that, so that's how they won it. Cespedes was a shitty center fielder, so they hit it right at him. And he got a home run on the first. You took apart our Daniel Murphy was a shitty second baseman. Hit it at him. We had a terrible defense that year. All you had to do was put the ball in play. And the only pitcher who, by the way, who overcame that was Noah Syndergaard because he threw at someone's head.
Well,
By the way, I hate Noah Syndergaard now.
well, the right side of the infield, you add Murphy to that. It was just horrific.
Yeah, I
No,
said
they-
Murphy was Duda was atrocious. Murphy was atrocious. Weinberg and
Yeah,
Erickson.
Cabrera and Wright on the left side. were
Cabrera
fine.
was a terrible shortstop.
He was still better than what anybody else had in the infield besides Wright.
And you know what? Our best infielder, shockingly, was still a terribly injured David Wright.
Yeah.
And that is sad. The dude was literally on his last leg, and he was our best infielder.
yeah. By
Well-
far, it wasn't even close.
The interesting thing is what else happened in baseball. Let's see. Max Scherzer shunned the ambassador to Japan. Now the Mets are
So
under a little fire for that. He didn't let him throw out the first pitch. Max Scherzer went out and started
Oh, I
warming
saw that. I didn't realize it was the ambassador from Japan.
up.
yep, should have
And
said not today.
look, everybody listening to this, no matter what we're arguing about with Dom and everybody else, what we're debating, we could be the Cincinnati Reds right now.
Yes,
How the hell do you when the other team does not have a hit?
that's crazy. That's only the I think sixth time in all of baseball ever that this ever happened. Like
Well, that
that's
freaking
crazy.
happened before. Jesus
Andy
Christ!
Hawkins of the
Yeah,
Yankees lost a game on a no hitter.
it's happened before. So it is a no hitter technically, but it's not a no hitter because they did not pitch 9 innings. Yeah, technically, wherever the camera is thinking,
Thank you. It doesn't count.
it does not count.
Well, Ryan, those combined no hitters, we'll give it the Roger Maris treatment back from '61. We'll throw a little asterisk in the record book.
I mean, I stand by Roger Maris, and that's going to piss off my brother's father in law, and I love that. I don't think people realize. So this is a Yankee tangent. Give me this one for a second. I'm going to turn this camera so I can lean this for a second. So I don't think people realize, as Mets fans, Yankee fans of a certain age hated Roger Maris, and I want to say not even like we can hate Beltran for not swinging, or we can hate Mike Hampton for leaving the way he did, or we can hate anyone. They despised him because he wasn't a true Yankee. They acquired him. How dare he make Mickey Mantle look bad? Or how dare he make Babe Ruth look bad? It was a thing for Yankee fans. They hated that dude. Meanwhile, I'm like, I would kill for any Met to hit 60 home runs. Anyone. It's like, yeah, but they'd break Pete Alonso's record. Don't give a crap. Just want to win. Yankee fans were like, but he's not a real Yankee. And
You know
there
what the
is,
funny
I learned that, and my wife did not understand that for years, that Yankee fans despised Maris.
It's funny, like if you like read things that Mantle actually said, Mantle had no problem with what Maris was
No,
doing,
Mantle
and for
respected him.
yeah, and the Yankee fans like just the way
I
they
really feel like going upstairs and
Maris
getting my
was
father in law.
so like stressed that his family was getting death threats. He was losing his hair. It was the poor guy.
I really feel like going upstairs and getting my father in law for this one.
Oh,
So
George is still
George is still here.
there.
so
My father in law
uh,
grew up with front row seats to the Yankees spring training
oh snap.
in like the 1950s and 60s. Like,
I agree with what John's saying here. He's saying hating on Beltran or Hampton is BS. You're a fair weather fan. Beltran was the best center fielder in Mets history, and he's not wrong. Yeah, he. I agree with him, and um, I love watching him play. I love watching Hampton play. What Hampton did for us was fantastic, and how he left sucked. But I completely agree with you, John. I
I
completely
will
agree.
hate on Mike Hampton for a minute because I think he was an average player who wanted a superstar contract.
Well, yeah, but
That's why I
those
hate on Mike
years,
Hampton. I think he was a good pitcher. I'm not going to say anything about him that way. He got a superstar contract to leave us, and he was never good again. Hold on, let me pull up Mike Hampton's stats.
and then
How
I
many
mean the
good
only
years
reason
did
why
Mike
I mean
Hampton have?
and the only reason why we really hate on Carlos or on Beltran, excuse me, is
I
because
mean, literally,
you know what happened. We
it
don't got
was
to say
Mike Hampton left us to go to a five. When Mike Hampton left us, his ERAs were 5.41, 6.15, 3.84, 4.28, and 3.850. And those three good years were when he was with Atlanta. He left us to have go to Colorado, pitch 5.41 and 6.15. He signed a massive deal. You know what the best thing that Mike Hampton did for us? When he left us, he got us David Wright.
yeah,
That is the
yeah.
best thing Mike Hampton did for us ever.
Now, John,
Mike Hampton,
no.
when he was here, was here for for 1 year and pitched 15-10 with a 3.14. Mike Hampton was not a great pitcher ever in his
Well, what he
life.
did for
He
us
was an
those playoffs, though, he what
Yeah,
game was
but I'm just gonna say he was not a great pitcher ever. I will shit on him because he was never a great pitcher, but for some reason some Mets fans are like, "Pfft, if only we'd brought him back. The best thing
No,
he did was leave because it got us David Wright. And as for Beltran, the best thing he did was leave, so we got Zach Wheeler.
Now, John, best center fielder in the Mets history is Juan Lagares. I'm just kidding. Um, See, you take the top three all-time Mets center fielders, or in my
Yeah, I'm
honest
looking that
opinion,
up too.
would be Mookie, Tommy Agee, and Carlos
Oh, it's
Beltran.
Mookie. Sorry, it's Mookie.
No, Ryan, this is what I was going to say about this one. They're three completely different type of players, and they played in three different generations that the game was completely different. And
yeah,
Tommy Agee only played for the Mets for, what, 4 years?
4 years.
Something like that. If he played a little bit longer, he might be in that conversation, but it's different times, and I hate sometimes ranking players on their stats from the 60s against players on their stats from the mid 2000s because the game is different.
I get that. I get that.
Yeah,
I
the
hate,
only
I
re-
like, cross sports. I hate when that's done in the NBA because the game is just played completely different.
yeah, it's a
You know what I
different
mean?
game. The reason I will say Mookie, and this is totally subjective, he literally brought us a World Series.
You,
And if I
you,
can say
you mean
that,
that missile he hit through Buckner?
you know what?
And it gets by
At
Buckner.
least he swung the damn bat.
That's fair. That's and that's a good way to wrap up the show.
We don't
Some
leave it at
people
that.
get a pitch
He,
and
he
they
swung
just
the
let it
bat.
go, and some people beat the ball to first.
I I I wholeheartedly agree with you, John. I go with Beltran, man. Beltran was just outrageous when he was here with the Mets.
I'm not
There
going
was
to say
this.
Beltran wasn't great. He was a fantastic player.
Do you know what I remember about Beltran? It's weird. Out of everything he did, you remember that catch he did over the shoulder going up the hill in Houston when they had that little stupid hill for
Oh,
us?
Yeah.
yeah.
It was amazing. That highlight stays in my head like rent
He
free. I
was a
think I'm gonna
great
go.
player who was a terrible cheater, though.
I was going to
Yeah,
say, how do we know he wasn't stealing signs when he was with the Mets?
He might have. He
he
stole.
might have.
He literally stole signals for at least a third of his career.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. I also hold that against him. Part of my hatred about him is the fact that he literally brought cheating to three teams: Yankees, Red Sox, and Astros. He is the one guy that joins them all.
Ryan, see, what you don't see in the background of Ryan is he's got this little Carlos Beltran spider web map of when you see the strings going to each city.
I mean, it's funny though that the Red Sox, when the Yankees got Beltran, and then came back and beat the Red Sox. The Red Sox manager Alex Cora was like, "Yeah, it's almost as if they knew what we were going to throw." And so it was this big running gag that like, oh my God, the Red Sox are saying that Carlos Beltran's a cheater and he brings it wherever he goes.
Mm, mm.
There is that thing. I'm sorry. He is a caught cheater. He's the only Mets coach never to coach a game.
Yeah. Yep. How different you think that this team would have been with Beltran as a manager?
Well, if they didn't stop us from cheating, we probably would have won 120 games every year.
Thank you for saying it because I was thinking it.
That's that's an interesting thought. We would have missed the Rojas years, so
Oh yeah.
But we'd have been implicated somewhere.
you can say that if Beltran was the manager, even if we weren't implicated somewhere, Ryan. I got Ryan to roll his eyes for about the fourth time, so I did my job tonight. You can say like if the Mets were halfway decent, and we might not have Buck and have this team. Honestly, like it could have just changed drastically.
So Albert Pujols actually is pitching for the first time in his career this tonight because the Cardinals are
How bad
getting.
is St. Louis getting spanked right now?
I don't know. I just saw it pop up on my
Oh,
feed.
hold on. This is gonna be funny to say before we let this one go tonight.
Oh no, they're winning. They were winning 15. They won 15-6. That's why he was
They
pitching.
won 15-6, and Pujols pitched.
Yes,
That is interesting.
that is interesting.
Pujols pitched 1 inning, gave up 3 hits, 4 runs, 4 earned, 1 walk, no strikeouts, 2 home runs. He has now a career ERA of 36.
Oh,
Awesome
by the
job.
way, real quick, if you don't think you can be hated for one thing you did in your career, Scott Norwood was one of the most accurate kickers in the history of football. He
Mm.
missed one kick.
Or you don't even have to be a star or anything. You can get hated. How
Yeah,
about
wide right. Literally one of the most accurate kickers in the history of football at the time. Missed
Okay.
one kick, and he's forever known for wide right.
yes?
Now,
By the way,
Ryan,
I've met him, and he's a delight.
no, I bet he is. And you bring that up because you say that. And the same thing actually with Buckner. Buckner was a really good player. And unfortunately, he goes down for one mistake.
Hell, the only reason Buckner was in was because they wanted him on the field to celebrate
Yep.
because he was so important to the team.
You could tell his knees are shot at that point because he barely bends over. It's almost like Kirk Gibson in that magical home run in '88 in Game 1. Kirk Gibson was never supposed to play. He could barely walk to the plate at
Some
that point.
people get the magical overcoming and some people don't. And that is I'm sorry, what defines him as a Met. Unfortunately, it's also what defines Scott Norwood. I'm a Bills fan. Scott Norwood's unfortunately defining moment as a Bill isn't nailing every field goal against the Redskins. It's missing the one against the Giants.
You just made me wish I would have asked Ray Knight this question when he was still working for the Nationals. What was going through your head when you were jumping up and down in Game 6? Like, holy fuck, I can't believe that just happened.
It's unfortunate that sports comes down to individual moments. Like you can bat 400, but if you fail, like Pete right now is batting 280, but all we're talking about right now is the fact that he struck out with the bases loaded. He checked his swing and went too far against the Mariners.
I'm sorry, he's batting 270 now, but that's okay.
But that's the point.
I get
It
your point. I'm
doesn't
just
it
balls.
doesn't matter what you're doing. It matters what happened in the moment.
What
Yeah.
have you done for me lately?
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
or what did you do when the spotlight was the brightest?
Hmm.
See, Tito, I asked a player that 2019 got to go to batting practice in Nats Park, and I got to talk to Rajay Davis.
Hmm.
And I asked him, I said, you probably get this question all the time, but what did it feel like to hit that home run in Game 7 to tie the game and send it into extra innings of the World Series? And he looked at me and goes, I don't even fucking know. I ran around those bases so fast, it happened so quickly, it felt like I was floating on air. The poor guy doesn't even really remember it. It happened so quickly.
Dude, but I mean, you don't remember it because honestly, being a kid and enjoying baseball, what's the one thing that you go play in your head? 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, Game 7 of the World Series, and you hit a home run, and he actually lived it. That's amazing, dude. Like,
Ryan's gonna
like,
Ryan's gonna make fun of me on this one because my older brother Chris and I used to. He pitched a little bit, mostly shortstop, and I was a catcher. So in the backyard, we would actually mimic the Jesse Orosco, Gary Carter celebration and all that stuff.
I
the
mean, who
glove still
didn't
has
who didn't do Kirk Gibson's home run trot after you hit a wiffle ball home run? By the way, in the same respect, Bill Mazeroski, 138 home runs in plus 20 years of baseball. But what is he known for? He's the only walk-off Game 7 home run. That's all that matters. Does it matter that he's the fastest glove in the history of sports? His in-out time on his glove to turn a double play? Nah.
Nah.
Walked it off against the Yankees, Game 7, bottom 9. Only time in the history of baseball. It's the
John,
moments that define the player.
if John is still on right now, Ryan brings up an interesting point because if Dom sits at a 210 career hitter, never pans out, but he hits that walk off in Game 7 of the World
Oh,
Series, he goes down as a Mets legend for the rest of his life.
there's
Forever
no way.
loved.
He will
Yeah.
never have to buy anything in New York ever again. Ever again.
Doug,
No, he
here's a
might
good
have to
one.
pay double in the
Doug
Bronx.
Flutie,
That's
Boston
okay.
College. Doug Flutie, Boston College throws the Hail Mary. Doug Flutie is royalty in Boston.
Hmm.
And he shit
Believe
on
it.
him.
And we love him in Buffalo.
Okay, just wanted to check.
No, I still have a box of Flutie Flakes upstairs.
Maybe next time I come to your house, I want some Flutie Flakes. They're probably all stale and nasty.
They're probably awful, but I've also got my Josh Allen Jacks.
Ryan's gonna be like, "Don't touch that box. Leave that box alone." Oh
Well,
man.
gentlemen, it was an interesting debate tonight. John and everybody else that made comments, thank you so much. Appreciate it. John, head to our website if you're still listening, umpirestateofminds.com. Drop Ryan and I an email, and we'll get you hooked up to come join us in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we'll have you come on. We'll talk. I mean, we are not. It comes down to the fact that we keep reiterating this. We don't hate anyone on the team. Robinson Cano's gone.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
just
Sorry,
like
I thought that would get a
That was
laugh.
one of the-
Sorry, I was
that was
going
one
for
of
a
the-
laugh there.
now he's San Diego's problem now.
Yeah. Really.
But seriously, we would love to talk to you.
Yeah, man, it's Mets love here, man. It's really all about us winning ball games, and we haven't had a team like this in a while. We talked about this while we were at the Nats game. We haven't had a team like this in a while, and it feels good to have a team to where, I mean, if you look at our record, we've won basically 2/3 of our games so far, and it's a good feeling. First place in the East, and by I think what 5.5 games now.
Even
But
today, they all lost. All the other teams in the East lost.
yep, no harm done.
See, John and everybody else listening, for those that have never gotten a chance to listen to the Umpire State of Mind yet, if you're from 90% Mets, when we hooked up with Tito, Ryan and I had this idea about a year ago that this podcast is for fans by fans. We want everybody that wants to come on and join us. Let's talk sports, guys.
And our main thing, and I keep saying this to everyone, I want to remain positive for the most part. I don't want to just crap on people. Like, even when we're discussing we're discussing the fact that Dom shouldn't be the starter, we're still talking about what we like about Dom. We want to be a positive group of people. There are so many fans I see on Twitter for the Mets or any of the New York teams who just hate. And
Yeah,
I'm tired of that. And there's a lot of New York podcasts who just hate. And there's always Mike Francesa who just hates everyone.
yes.
By the way, did you all hear when Gary, Keith, and Ron were doing their Francesa and Mad Dog impersonations the other night?
I didn't. I wasn't watching when you
Oh,
spoke.
it was so great. They were like, I'm going to do my impersonation of them doing it real quick. They're like, because they talked about, tonight the football schedule gets announced. It was like, do you remember Mike and the Mad talking about it? It was like, Francesa would just look at me like, that's a loss, loss, loss. That's a win, win, loss. I was like, oh my God, that's right, because Francesa's boring as hell.
Spot on.
Well, if there's
That's
ever a movie about Francesa, it has to be
Not
played
a
by
Mikey, that
Christopher
could be a
Walken.
win there.
it.
Sorry.
So hey, John says,
No, wait, Pat. Oh, sorry.
no, it's okay. John says, thank you, but no thank you. I'm not interested in the live video, but I appreciate the time and the back and forth conversation. It's all love here. And well, John, man, if you don't
John,
want
we
to
love
show
you,
up,
man.
if you don't want to do the
John,
video, I mean,
we
showing
also
up.
record and not do all live, too, so it's up
We
to you.
can also keep you, faceless. There doesn't have to be a video aspect.
Oh yeah, true. You can be in the background and just talk.
That's right. I'm pretty good with
We
this
could-
video stuff.
We could
He
put a
is.
Mr. Met picture here next to one of them, and that could be John.
Oh
You
yeah,
could be Mr. Matt or anyone you want.
yeah. Just pick your alter ego for the day.
Someday you
you
could be Mrs. Matt.
go. However you like it, sir. But hey, John. I mean, honestly, if you don't like the live video, just joining us and having the conversation, like you said, is awesome, man. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for having the back and forth debate like we were just doing. That's awesome.
Love it.
Well, gentlemen,
Take
thank
us
you to
out.
everybody that joined us. This is all love. It's all Mets. With this weekly podcast we do on Sundays, we want more people. Spread the word. Let's get some convos going. And like Ryan said, we shit on people in good fun and good humor, but we also say what's good about them. Like JD Canfield, worth a fuck, but the guy can hit the ball when he gets hot.
His best glove is his batting glove.
Well, on that note, Ryan, that's going to be our new sign off for every podcast.
His best glove is his batting glove. That's
I'm going to
great.
find JD Davis on Cameo and see if you could say that for us.
That's fantastic. But anyway, guys, hey, we're gonna keep coming back with more live videos. Stay tuned. 90% Mets here at Tito. You guys already know I post as much as we can. Shout out to Chris too. Chris in the group, one of our admins. He's always on the ball, posting the lineups, posting some cool pictures that he finds. And these guys right here, Pat and Ryan, coming by and doing some live talk. We've been on for an hour and a half, and we didn't even feel it. I mean, honestly, love talking Mets with these guys and bringing
Love
some
doing
content
it.
to you here.
See, this
And
is what I
another-
keep telling people. I'd be having this talk with Pat if we weren't on air. So
Yeah. And if anybody's interested, I think Ryan and I are going to be coming back later in the week with a little bit of football news coming on just because, if you're a Giants fan, I'm just enamored with what I'm seeing with the new rookies. And I know Ryan's excited about his new punter and everything.
punt god, baby. There's nothing quite like drafting someone named the punt god.
Oh man,
And I'm going
That's
to try
great.
and find a Jets fan for us to, talk crap with. By the way, I will say that the most miserable Mets fans are usually Jets fans.
that's absolutely true.
Sorry,
Well,
Jets
that-
fans.
Well, the only thing the Jets can, they should sue the Nationals for stealing their chant.
They should.
Oh,
sue the
yeah.
No, they should start with the Capitals because the Capitals stole it first, and then the Nationals stole it. I know because my brother has accompanied me to both games, and he's like, "You're doing it wrong. Someone needs to silence the crowd first." And he's actually not wrong. Like it's stupid just to randomly chant it without like Fireman Eddie going like, "Everybody shut up." Like they silenced
Oh.
90,000 people, and then
John-
did it. It was epic. When the Jets were at their height, it was epic. When the Caps do it, it's like, all right, everybody keep talking. We're just gonna say this, and the Nats and they added a woo.
Mm-hmm.
You're not from North
Yeah.
Carolina. Drop the woo.
Giant. John just went straight low blow to you, Ryan. He said, "Giants fan here, loved beating Buffalo in the Super Bowl."
Yeah, that was great. Now y'all enjoy the next 15 years of sucking as we win a Super Bowl and
It's all
maybe
right.
2 or 3.
This coming from the guy that just had about 20 years of sucking, and he acts like it never happened.
No,
Yeah,
no,
right?
no. I
Like
know
in
it
the rear-
happened.
It's just like in the rearview mirror, and it's
Yeah,
not
I
bothering
rooted
you.
for the Giants to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I broke up in 18-year-old bottles of scotches when y'all beat the Patriots.
Let's be fair. You weren't rooting for the Giants. You're rooting against Tom Brady.
That also
Yes.
is true.
Let's be
But
fair.
I am willing to say this. If I were to have an NFC team, it'd be the Giants. But
All right.
my number one team is the Buffalo Bills. It always will be.
If I had a
Now, I
number
said-
one team,
I
if I
said
had a
Ryan-
number one team in the AFC, it wouldn't be Buffalo.
I
Should
sent
be
Ryan
because
this
we're the
article.
only team in the New York area because anybody else is from New Jersey.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
Oh my God, here we go.
Leading to one of your
Hey.
tweets.
No. So I sent Ryan this article, and I'll send it to you, Tito, to share with John and everybody else if they want. There was an
Okay.
article in the USA Today about two avid football fans that are suing the Jets and Giants. First, they wanted them to leave New Jersey. Then they wanted to drop the New York name because they say they were misled and wasted money because they had no idea that they played in East Rutherford, New Jersey, even though the guy is a Manhattan financial advisor and they're supposedly avid football fans. Yeah, I'll send you
Okay.
the article. Really fucked up article.
No avid Buffalo Bills fan thinks the Bills play in Buffalo. We play in Orchard Park. No
And then they go to
avid
Deer-
fan of a team. It's stupid.
Then they go to Darien Lake later on. They hit Six Flags and they're good to go.
So Jersey can keep the Jets. We'll take the Giants. I've always said that.
You got to build a new stadium though.
The Jets
Yeah.
should just relocate to Idaho or something.
The Jets
You
should
mentioned-
move back
you
in with the Mets. I'm saying it.
Oh, the Jets at Citi Field? Ugh.
Remember, the Jets played at Shea.
No.
No, I know that. I'm just saying. Yeah.
And they
And the
both
Giants
won
actually played.
championships.
Keep them out
The
of city.
Giants actually played in Shea for a short time too when their stadium was being renovated.
Oh, the Polo Grounds were the best.
The Polo Ground. We need more stadiums like that.
You know, and I'll just have a conversation. I'll just get my father-in-law Georgia in to talk about the Polo Grounds. All right, I think we
Anyway,
should wrap this up now. Now that we've talked about every sport, we've mentioned. The only thing we haven't mentioned is basketball, and let's not do
nope.
that.
Tito did very briefly about the game's not the same, so we got
I
to
did.
cover.
All
Hey, is
right,
anybody
boys.
watching golf this weekend?
You can watch golf.
That was a Top Golf today. Tito,
All
take
right,
us off, buddy.
All right, guys. Like I said earlier, as you guys know, 90% Mets here, Tito. These two guys, Pat and Ryan, bringing you live streams. And as we always say, most importantly, we bash players when they need it. We talk good about them as well. But at the end of the day, it's always let's go Mets.
LGFM, guys.